Everyone, how's everybody doing? Okay, we're back, and before I get into the video here, I know you're going to be able to hear some background noise here in this video. It's 31 degrees here today, and the air conditioner is going, and I'm not turning it off to do the videos that I'm going to be doing here, so please bear with me if you can hear that hum in the background. I like to stay cool, especially with the heat the way it is. Okay, I do have a topic for a video. And someone asked me recently if we get tested in regards to a pattern or a particular belief system or a particular way that we used to do things in any way, shape, or form. And the answer to that question is yes, we do, and you can get tested many, many times. So what does it mean when I say we get tested? Let's take for an example, and I'm going to kind of pick one out of my hat here. Let's say that you're a female and you tend to attract let's pick the most popular one, the narcissist type of gentleman in your life or other partner. And that's a pattern. And usually I find that pattern comes from the point of origin. There's always a point of origin to a pattern. And in 90% of the cases, I can go right back in somebody's family, and especially during their teenage years, and I can find very much, well, this is where they had the experience, and this is where they get templated. And most people, males and females, don't realize this, that this is where they get templated for the patterns and types of patterns and the personality types of patterns of partners, friends, and or relationships or even marriages that they're going to have in the future. And fortunately, because our society is changing dramatically at this particular point, the three things, again, and I'm very, very big on this and I'm going to stick to it, the three things that are the major potential creative, productive situation in relationships, and right now, in a great many cases, the most dysfunctional thing in our society right now is the concept, the belief systems, the ideologies, the philosophies of what is known as love, relationships, and sexuality. And all three of those are going through quantum changes at a fantastic rate of speed and with a lot of pain and difficulty in a lot of cases for some people. Now, I realize that some people are having an easier time of doing this. And the question of basic of this video is the person wanted to know, do we get tested on these things when we are learning them? The one thing that I do know is a lot of people go from birth to death and never realize that the whole of their life has been programmed, literally, and I'm not kidding when I say that, by their family, by their peers, by the government, by their religious input, whatever. And their behavior patterns and the people that they attract to them are all functioning around that basis state of consciousness and the belief system. So what you attract is what you believe. I'll give you an example. This one should step on some toes somewhere. Is many people at this point still in their spiritual evolution have a very strong, deeply ingrained belief system in reincarnation. So guess what happens? As long as you believe in reincarnation, you're going to have to keep reincarnating. When you no longer believe in reincarnation, then the possibility of you going home to your point of origin or wherever you came from is very likely to happen in that particular go-round. The same thing applies to karma. If you believe in karma, then you must reincarnate continually to deal with your karma. How does that grab you? So many times when I talk about that I don't believe in reincarnation and I don't believe in karma, people think I'm nuts or I'm crazy. But it's a belief system, and it's a belief system that's been passed down from one generation to the other. And what happens is when you have something like that and you get awakened, where you have a heart center awakening, you have a Kundalini awakening, and you have the heart throb twin flame thing take place for you, you know all how it works kind of deal. Then you find out just how many belief systems, patterns, ideologies, philosophies, and functional or dysfunctional patterns that you are looking at. And you say to yourself, oh my God, this is me, this is what I am, this is what I was. I don't even know who I am. And you know what? There are a lot of people in the spiritual community who still don't know who they are, and yet they think they're enlightened, so to speak, more or less. How about that one, sports fans? So anyways, what happens, and this is the way it happened for me, and I know it's happened to other people because I get a few comments now and then. Once I got to the point where I became self-aware, okay, and what I mean by self-aware is this. Self-awareness is nothing more than a realization that everything that you are, everything that you have manifested, be it physically, materially, or at a conscious level, has all been programmed and conditioned into you. And at that point, you realize the potential change and the potential that probably lies within you once you eliminate and start eliminating the programming that has been put into you. And this is what's happening now. And I might add here also that this is what this tribulation called the virus is doing. It's changing our way of thinking, and it's changing our way of believing in things. And I will tell you something that a lot of you don't know. Even though this is looked at as being a catastrophe, it also is a blessing because it's sure changing a lot of people and the way they used to think, react, and be. People are now reassessing their lives and everything. So in a way, it's a crisis, but at the same time, it can be perceived as a gift, more or less. Whether you like that I said it or not, it's a fact. So when I became self-aware, what happened is I found myself, and first of all, it happened for me in relationships, first of all, which is where a good place to start, because that's where our society is at this particular point. You know, as soon as I said it, a picture flashed into my mind of a society right now that are literally turning the earth into a sewer and nothing more than a garbage can. We're a throwaway society in every means of the world. But when you think of the population that's on this planet and the stuff that we throw away, it's incredible, the amount of garbage that we have in the material sense. But if you think about that and you're aware of the garbage that we are in the material sense of the word, and the garbage that we produce, think about the garbage that has been programmed into our consciousness. Our behaviors are all programmed into our consciousness. So as we go through evolution, spiritual evolution, as we call it, we have to change, evolve, and grow. So when you become self-aware, what happens is, and I saw this happen so many times for myself, where I became self-aware of something that I had been doing that was a reaction to programming, and I'd say, oh, okay, I'm not going to do that anymore. I'll give you an example. I used to be what they would call self-destructive by nature, all right? Because I came from kind of, shall we say, an unpleasant childhood, I grew up with an attitude of I can't be successful at anything because I'm stupid, all right? And that was programmed into me by one of my beloved parents. And so that's what I did. So most of my adult life up until about the time I was about 38 was being very self-destructive. And what would happen is I had this pattern where I'd go one step forward and things would start looking good. And then I'd do something really stupid or say something or do something. And then I would have to go around trying to fix it and apologize for stupidness that I would do. And I couldn't figure out what the hell was going on with me. Why do I keep doing this? Well, when you become self-aware, you start looking for something within yourself or a point of origin. And that's what I did. And I found out that the point of origin of this self-destruct mechanism that I had within me came from my childhood and came from certain things that my father said or did to me when I was a child. And I realized that I grew up with an attitude of not being successful at anything, and that was the way it was. So what I did is when I realized it, I became self-aware that this is what's going on. Self-awareness is one of the most important stages of awakening that you can possibly imagine, because up until that point when you become self-aware of what's going on with you and how you've been programmed, you are literally a robot. You are literally a robot, a clone, literally. As much as that may sound very unpleasant to a lot of people, you are nothing more than a clone, a copy of somebody else's input and their function. And very fortunately right now, we are not holding on to cloneship anymore. We are waking up, and a lot of people don't like it. And a lot of people are trying to reaffirm their control over us, as you may have noticed. So anyways, I noticed a pattern started happening. Interesting, again, a pattern. That every time I would learn something and I become self-aware of it, and I'd say, I'm not doing this anymore. Then when I started doing it, I started watching for the triggers, okay, or the points that would be setting me up for this self-destruct mechanism. So I'd get to a point where I've been remotely successful, and then I'd screw it up by doing something really dumb. And I started watching for the triggers, those subtle little signs that things were beginning to pile up and things were beginning to pile up. And I found out it was a way of thinking, because every time that I would do something successful, I would have this habit of drifting back a little bit and second-guessing myself and saying, am I really worthy of this? You know why you get into your head like that? And you kind of start second-guessing yourself and you say, gee, am I really worthy of this? Should I really deserve this? This is the kind of thinking that you go on. And you wonder, well, how come this is happening to me? Why all of a sudden are things going kind of well? Kind of thing. And what you do is you build this and you build this and you build this and you build this over a period of time. And it's inevitable you're going to self-destruct. Now, you can take this pattern that I'm talking about and you can apply it to different venues or different avenues in your consciousness, your personality, your love life, your sexuality, your relationship concept, and you can see how it works. So what I did was I started watching for those points of origin. And lo and behold, very quickly, I could see the subtle part of this happening with this particular pattern. And what happened is I started getting very successful at having it not happen anymore. So I kind of got, okay, I got it. We're there, type of thing. A eureka, the light went on. I got it. And then I'd kind of move on to some other phase of the evolutionary process, some other aspect, where now that I caught on to what I'm doing, that the only help I'm ever going to get is self-help, really, to do this. And all I can ever do is, looking for somebody else's help, is get the tools that they may have used to accomplish it and apply their tools through modification to me, which is exactly what I did. So then I realized what happened after that is the universe, at first I thought it was, and then I thought it was higher self doing it. I would get tested. I would actually have a situation come toward me that would actually test to see if I was on the ball, so to speak, and I had actually incorporated it as a permanent template within my consciousness, and the test may happen 2 or 3 times. So at the same time, if you apply that to relationships, all right, if you have somebody who's, for example, connected with a narcissist, all right, and finally you eliminate the narcissist out of your life, or it could be any kind of dysfunctional fashion. Like I said, you all like that word narcissist. I just call them control freaks, period. I mean, the old school in the old days had some very nice words also. This narcissist, I keep relating that to nothing more than a jar of pickles. I mean, can you imagine that? Narcissist pickles? I mean, isn't that something? Hey, you haven't lived till you've taken a bite out of a narcissist pickle? Oh, wow, we could bend that one around a little bit. Yeah, I like it. You haven't lived till you had a bite out of a narcissist's pickle. Oh, I tell you, I'm bent. I'm really bent. Oh my goodness. You haven't had a bite until you've taken a bite of a narcissist's pickle. Deep, deep. That one's deep. Hope you enjoyed it. It just came out of the blue. Anyway, I can't even help myself. I kind of laugh at my own jokes. Oh boy. Anyways, the laugh is good. It's good for the soul, good for the spirit, makes your day kind of thing. And you can always depend on me to screw it up some way. I love it. Anyways, as I was trying to say, when you recognize the pattern, then you can do something about it and it comes back toward you. But finally, I realized something that was really kind of profound. It was because had I already progressed in consciousness, I had given the credit to higher self or the divine or whatever. And finally, I realized that it wasn't higher self or anything else above or beyond that. It was me. It was my present state of consciousness and being in a state of awareness that set up the test for myself. So I couldn't blame higher self, and I couldn't blame any extraterrestrial or divine presence or whatever you might call it, because I realized something, that the more we awaken, the more responsibility we're going to be given in taking care of ourselves, all right? You see, before, and here's the big one, pay attention to this. Everybody else was taking care of us by their input. Now we're switching to taking care of us by our input, by becoming self-aware. This is a very good video. You need to pay attention to this. So at some point, you also come to the realization that you set up these tests for yourself. You do. Because your consciousness has awakened, you're exercising what I call spiritual maturity by exercising leadership capacity within yourself. You're becoming whole. Okay? And at that point, you are ready to go out and buy narcissist pickles. And bite the big one. Oh boy. I don't know who's writing my material, but boy, they're really on the ball. I gotta tell you. Anyways, I like cracking you up, and I hope you enjoy it also. So, all part of the fun, right? So anyways, once you recognize this pattern that's going on, you yourself are setting this up for yourself to test yourself for your credibility and for the ultimate realization, okay? Awareness, and then for realization. Realization is a state of being that you are a creator. You are responsible for you in that sense. So depending upon the depth that had, remember that word had, been incorporated within yourself in regards to that particular belief system, template, or ideology. And again, I go back and say about reincarnation, all right, is if you believe in reincarnation, then you're going to keep reincarnating. If you believe in karma, you're continually going to be working through your karma. And you're going to work through it in regards to relationships. You're going to have, for example, all kinds of what you call past life memories of karma, and working through this with a partner and working through that with a partner. And you did this and he did that and she did that, and you're working through karma. You're going to be here for a very long time. Sooner or later, as consciousness begins to awaken and you become responsible and you gain spiritual maturity, you begin to leave behind things of childhood. Remember that one? As you're becoming an adult, and then you step into new states of awareness and consciousness via the dream state, which starts giving you, and what you call that in-between state, tastes and samples of other dimensions, timelines, and realities, and future presences that are going on with yourself, what we call future with yourself now. And then you start to become aware of who you are totally. And then you become aware of something else, and it's this. This is another belief system that is deeply embedded in core humanity at this point. Most of you, and even a lot of you who will listen to this video, still believe that you, the person I'm talking to, that's looking at me making a fool of myself and having fun doing it, you still believe that your soul has one expression of yourself. That being you, the entity and being that I'm talking to right now that's sitting there listening to me, and hopefully feeling yourself laughing every once in a while, you believe that's the only expression of you. That's a belief system. And it's a very deeply embedded belief system in the spiritual community. Even of those who think they're highly evolved still believe that old concept. But there are those of us who now know that just because you're here in the physical, that's not the only extension of your soul. Why would a soul in its right mind, or left mind, or multidimensional mind, have only one physical entity being manifesting in a three-dimensional planet at a time? Doesn't make any sense, does it, when you think about it? Just think about that for a moment. Why would any soul want just one physical being in physical reality? Why not a dozen? Why not 20? Why not 5 in each and 5 there and 5 over there or 3 there? You see, for some who have big consciousness, they can swallow that. But if you live in a life of spiritual belief systems, ideologies, and philosophies that are tainted with templated belief systems from prehistoric belief systems that have been passed down through reincarnation from one generation to the other through belief systems, my God, you could be stuck here for an eternity, you see. And there are people who really like being in power here in the physical, who would like to keep it that way. But that's not possible anymore. So you test yourself each time. You arrange the test yourself. Higher self didn't do it, and some divine presence didn't do it either. You arranged it to see if you're actually making progress. And you might do this 2 or 3 times. And you'll do it in regards to relationships. You'll do it in regard to your concept of love. And you'll do it in your concept of sexuality also. You see. So this is what I'm talking about when I'm talking about the tests. And you'll continually do them. Even now, I find myself still in this situation, and I know many of you are the same thing, that once you get it, you're going to test it. And you're going to test it until it's solidified within your chakra system, and specifically in the new etheric body that's coming in. You will not have to do that process any longer. Once the disintegration, happens with the old etheric body and the new one comes in, you won't have to test yourself anymore, because you'll have a state of mind and being that will be, shall we say, clear enough. Now remember, ascension into higher consciousness doesn't require perfection. Reasonably close will do, all right, in that sense. So this is what is taking place at this point in time. So this is why you have this aspect of yourself that keeps testing yourself, and the tests get a little more subtle and a little bit more evolved as you go along. Sometimes you will notice this when I say subtle tests, the tests will come at you because as you get good at this, you want to get better at testing yourself. So what you'll try to do is pull a sneaky on yourself. You'll try to arrange a test that kind of sneaks up on you when you're not looking. Okay, because after you get to be aware a bit and realization starts coming to you, you start building confidence. And as you build confidence, your personality becomes stronger. So what happens is you can't, it's hard to fool a fox anymore. And it's really hard to fool an old fox. But it's even more difficult to fool an old fox. Moi. Okay? It really is hard to fool me. So I have to arrange for myself even more subtle tests. And sometimes I have to arrange 2 tests with 2 or 3 people or 2 or 3 different circumstances, all coming at me at the same time in what I call the bomb type effect. 3 or 4 different venues of the same thing coming back at me. And I love it when this happens because I know I'm making progress. All right. So once you start seeing this in a different way, when the tests first started coming for me, I thought they were a real pain in the ass. I hated it. I felt like I was being punished because I was being tested. Now, I like it. It's fun. Because the only one who can outmaneuver me is me. No one else can outmaneuver me. I'm the only one that can do it to me. So I like the subtleties and the 3 or 4 way it comes at me. And as long as you look at it as fun in that way and not a challenge or something that you're being punished for, the likelihood of you missing the test is not likely going to happen. And this is kind of the way the test thing goes. Now I know that in the twin flame community that this is going on continually. The sites, the twin flame sites are just full of people that are being tested all the time, and they sit there and they're whining in pain and misery and everything else, and they verbalize all of this stuff, and they only make it worse, and the test goes long and longer and longer and longer, and the pain gets worse, when it's totally unnecessary for all of that stuff to happen. And then you get a lot of people who are in pain that have been in a twin flame connection and get up on YouTube and they call themselves expert, and they go through all of their experience, blah, 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 and it continues on. But the idea of testing here is arranged by you when you've reached, and here's a compliment to all of you, a state of spiritual maturity that your personality that's been reformed through belief system changes and the elimination of some can handle the responsibility of doing it, so you become a leader. The leadership you apply to self, and if you do it in a fun, nurturing, and in a friendly, humorous, especially if you're tested, and this is what you need to remember, you will screw up. You will miss a test sometime, and you will miss it. Don't be disappointed. Don't be disappointed. Just get up off your duff and get right back at it and have more fun. Keep doing it. And the test will become even more challenging as you go into multidimensional states of consciousness. I want to mention this at the end of this video because this is going to be important. Some of you out there will understand what I'm about to say. Not all of you, but some of you will. And don't take that as a criticism or a judgment. It's not that. It's just a state of fact, okay? So don't everybody get their panties in a knot or their nose out of joint, all right? If you do, go grab a pickle, bite it. A narcissist pickle. Deep. Anyway, so if you do that, what you need to remember is that when the opportunity for growth comes to you and you can feel that things are moving in a positive direction, in a creative direction, you apply the leadership to yourself and to yourself only. What that will do, it will bring you to a point where your personality will be so modified and changed into 3D now, you will feel like you're not part of this planet anymore. Then you're worthy, as it were, from a maturity point of view, to experience different timelines, different dimensions, different realities, communicating with different types of beings and entities, and you don't have that 3D mask over your face. You've become whole, so therefore now you can traverse these different dimensions. This is where you're going, and this is where you're evolving to. Not all of us are there yet. So the tests, definitely you want to see these coming, because when you see the tests coming to you and you're being tested, take it as a compliment, because you're making progress. Very good progress. I hope that kind of gives you some clarity on that. And I hope a lot of twin flames can kind of get into this video and listen to it and hopefully benefit from it. All right. I think that's about long enough for now. And I'll be back anyways with more anyways. So, hey, hang tight, everybody. Love you all. Take care.